If you're a solopreneur, you know the drill. Growth is everything. But what if I told you the most powerful lever for that growth is the one we almost always overlook? Well, today, we're diving into a mental model that's going to help you build a sustainable growth engine for your business. We're focusing on the two things that matter most: getting customers and, you guessed it, getting paid.
But first, let's start with a number that might just blow your mind. When it comes to your bottom line, improving your pricing is 4 times more efficient than getting more customers. Yeah, 4 times. We pour so much energy into acquisition, but the biggest wins, they're actually waiting for us in how we price our value.
So, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by uncovering that untapped growth lever. Then we'll talk about the fuel for our engine, that's smart customer outreach. After that, we dive into the engine itself, strategic pricing. Of course, to do that, we have to know our ideal customer inside and out. And finally, we'll put it all together and build your very own pricing machine. All right, let's jump right in. Section 1, your untapped growth lever. Most of us founders, our first instinct for growth is just more. More leads, more signups, more customers. But the data tells a completely different story. The real game-changing growth comes from monetization, from getting your pricing right. I mean, just look at this chart. A study of over 500 companies looked at what happens when you improve each of these areas by just 1%. Improving acquisition, you get a nice 3.3% bump. Better retention, that doubles it to about 6.7%. But a tiny 1% improvement in your pricing, that gives you a massive 12.7% lift to your bottom line. It's not even close. It is by far the most powerful tool you have. This all comes down to something called unit economics. Now, that might sound a little intimidating, but it's really just the basic math of your business. It asks one simple, crucial question. Over the long run, are you making more money from a customer than it costs you to get them in the first place? That's your lifetime value to customer acquisition cost ratio, or LTV to CAC. And here's the key takeaway. For a healthy, sustainable business, you want that ratio to be at least 3-to-1. But this is where great pricing becomes your superpower. Companies that are constantly fine-tuning their pricing don't just stop at 3-to-1. They can push that ratio to 11-to-1 or even higher. That's the difference between just keeping the lights on and building a business that truly thrives. Okay, so a powerful engine is awesome, but it's totally useless without any fuel. In our growth model, that fuel is smart customer outreach. It's the whole process of getting the right people interested in what you're doing. And as a solopreneur, this is a massive pain point, right? You have to do outreach, you have to make connections, but you don't have a giant sales team or endless hours in the day to write custom emails. So how in the world do you stand out and actually do it efficiently? Well, the answer is all about leveraging modern tools. We're not going to get into specific brands here, but let's talk about the incredible capabilities they give you. Think about it. AI can now write personalized email content for you in seconds. It can automate your follow-ups so you never drop the ball. It can hyper-personalize messages using data from LinkedIn or a company's website. It can even find and beef up contact info for your leads. This is how you fuel your engine without burning out. But here's the thing to remember. Getting those leads in the door is just the beginning. Effective outreach is absolutely the fuel. But you need a powerful engine to take that fuel, that interest, and turn it into actual revenue and forward motion for your business. And that brings us right to the heart of it all, the engine itself. Your pricing strategy is how you capture the value you create. It's not just some number on a web page, it's the core mechanism that powers your entire business forward.
So how do we actually set a price? Well, you've got a few common models. The first two are the old school ways. There's cost plus, which is just your costs plus a little extra. Then there's competitor-based, which is basically just copying what everyone else is doing. Notice the focus here? It's either on you or on the market. Both of them completely ignore the most important person in the whole transaction. That's where value-based pricing comes in. It's focused entirely on the customer and what they believe your product is worth. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Customers don't care about your costs or your competitors. They care about the value you provide to them. This is the huge mindset shift you have to make. Your price needs to tell a story about the value you deliver, not what's on your expense report or what your competitors are up to. And that leads us perfectly into our next section. Because if we're going to price based on value, we have to know, really know, who we're providing that value to.
It's impossible. You simply cannot have an effective value-based pricing strategy without a deep, data-driven understanding of your customer.
And I'm not talking about those fluffy personas we all create, Startup Sally or Corporate Chris. They're a nice little exercise, but they're not enough. Frankly, they're just decoration. To build a real growth engine, you need cold, hard, actionable data.
This slide just shows the transformation perfectly. On one side, you've got a vague idea of a customer, but on the other, you have a quantified persona. We know that this customer, Advanced Arnie, really values things like analytics and API access. We know his willingness to pay is right around $25 a month, and we even know it costs about $56 to acquire him. See the difference? This isn't just a story, it's a blueprint you can actually use to build your pricing. So how do you get this data? Well, you can start by answering 3 key questions for each of your customer types. First, what features do they truly value the most? And just as important, what do they value the least? Second, what is their actual willingness to pay for that specific value? And third, what does it really cost you to get them on board? Answering these questions turns pure guesswork into real strategy. Okay, this brings us to our final section. Building your pricing machine. This is where the rubber meets the road. We're going to take all these ideas, the fuel, the engine, the customer data, and put them into a practical, step-by-step framework you can actually use to keep optimizing your growth. The process is really just a simple 4-step loop. Step 1, identify a specific problem, like maybe your unit economics are terrible. Step 2, use that customer data we just talked about to find the root cause. Maybe your price is totally misaligned with your best customers. Step 3, form a hypothesis and test a solution, like maybe adjusting your price tiers. And finally, step 4, implement the solution that your test proves is the winner. This turns pricing from this big, scary, one-time decision into an ongoing process of improvement.
Now, theory is one thing, but let's see how this plays out in the real world. A company called statuspage.io went through this exact process, and what they accomplished was pretty incredible. So they started out with just 2 simple pricing plans, but they quickly realized something was off. By actually talking to their customers, they figured out the cause. Their simple pricing just didn't work for their diverse customer base. So they tested and then rolled out a new 4-plan structure. You can see it here. Each plan is clearly designed for different buyer persona, from a hobby user all the way up to an enterprise client. And the result of this data-driven change? Get this. It was absolutely dramatic. They increased their average customer lifetime value by 2.4 times. Just think about that for a second. By redesigning their pricing to better match customer value, they more than doubled the revenue from every single customer they brought in. That's how you set the stage for massive growth. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this question to think about for your own business. Your price is so much more than a number. It's a signal. It's a story. It tells your customer who you're for and what you're worth. So ask yourself, is your price telling the right story about the incredible value you provide?